and I did it wrong. This is what you want to see when you're shooting in your bow. I haven't touched this bow really for any other purpose than just finishing for probably 3 or 4 days now. So hasn't been shot or strung or anything, and you can see when I set it down, I've got just a whisper of a setback going. If I were to measure it, 3/8 of an inch. If you take the wrap out of the picture, it's about 1/2 inch of reflex in those limbs. Well, I'm going to continue shooting it just to ensure that A, we don't have any changes in tiller or alignment or anything like that, and B, just to have some fun with it. So let's go shoot. All right, so here we go. We've been shooting her for a bit here now. Probably put somewhere between 50 and 75 shots through her. You'll take note here at the arrow pass where the contact is occurring, and you can probably see it there. We don't want to have contact back here on that arrow rest, because what can happen is any kind of torque or anything happening at the grip during the shot, this can throw your arrow off, and that's where it starts kicking as a result of bow construction versus the spine of your arrow. So both are important, but even a well-spined arrow that's making contact at the back, or what would be the belly side of the grip, is going to get some errant flight patterns, and we want it passing right up here close like this. So this is what you want to see when you're shooting in your bow. As a side note, Howard typically did not use a strike plate on his bows, and so I'm not going to be putting a strike plate on this particular bow. And then we're going to have to discuss a few other things that Howard did with his bows that in this instance I took a few liberties. And we'll be going over some of that stuff here in a minute. I'm going to be finishing this bow with shellac, and the pores on bamboo are so tight that I'm going to be just doing a lot of very light coats, just really building this finish up. All right, here's our finished bow. A little detail on the arrow pass there. And I want to take a minute here and go over just what has really transpired here. So talked a lot in previous videos leading up to this one about Howard's patented design, and I want to clear a couple things up with regard to this particular build. So I did follow his patented design for his concave convex bamboo bow stave, which is 3 layers of bamboo glued together in successive thicknesses to make basically a bow stave. The text from which I'm pulling that from shows it right here. So 3 layers. And the way Howard would do this, according to the the book, was that he would glue these 3 layers together. They're tapered, pre-tillered basically, tiller each piece as he went along, and then laminate it all together, and then tiller it again, right? And the riser would be placed on at that point, right? Tiller the whole bow out again, and then in later iterations, the facing would then be applied, and that would be fiberglass ultimately. And the fiberglass would then increase poundage and keep the back set and all those sorts of things, and it would be applied exactly the way I applied my bamboo in this instance, where it would go up the fades of the riser. Now, in Howard's original bamboo bows, so things were done a little bit differently there, and a couple things that I did right, a couple things that I kind of went off on my own way of doing things would be as follows. So on all bamboo construction, this is how they would look, because that 4th piece of bamboo would be glued on, and then the riser glued on top of that, similar to the way you would put on a block riser on a board bow if you were making a board bow. Okay, so that's how his original all bamboo bows were made, and there's kind of a diagram of that construction. Yeah, when they would put on the glass, it would ride up the riser. Not so when he did his all bamboo bows. And so I took some liberties there. What I did was I used bamboo, the natural material, because I wanted to make a natural materials all bamboo Howard Hill bow. But I used his facing method that was applied for things like fiberglass. So I applied my my belly bamboo layer similar to how he would do his fiberglass. Now, where I deviated from the process was that I did not put my riser on first. Now, I did tiller my original stave. So the 3 pieces of bamboo originally glued together in convex concave construction, I did tiller that. Now, where it threw me off was, had I put the riser on, it would have stiffened this center section and helped me see the bend out into the outer portions of the limbs a little bit better than I was able to when I didn't apply it. So to do it differently, I would certainly do that. I prefer to do the layup on the belly lamb like this, but it is not in keeping with the way Howard Hill did his bows. So I want to make that part clear. This right here is not a Howard Hill bamboo belly construction. All right, it should go underneath the riser. So took some liberties there. I'm going to back up just a second and talk about how to construct these things. because that was a real challenge. And there's some instructions in here as to how to do it. Now, it states that we start with 4 strips of bamboo. It says right here, start with 4 strips of bamboo, flat belly strip followed by 2 inside strips and a backing strip with nodes. Laminations are all stacked on an oak board that's carved out concave, and it's carved out concave to keep the laminations concave. So when I split my backing piece of bamboo, and I split this when I was tapering it out. So the glue up is not what split it, but gluing it is what did end up spreading that. So had I taken the time to create a concaved bed on which to glue this, that it probably, I mean, I guess there's some conjecture as to whether it would still open up or not open up. Fact of the matter is, the amount of concavity or the convexity going on right here is really minimal, really minimal, but it's still convex. The way I did it was to use foam like this, and then the foam would then cup the layers together. That was the intention. It is ease of construction, I guess. Easier to put this together than to try and make a oak bed of convexed gluing surface. So anyway, that's how I did it, which is not necessarily the way Howard Hill did it, but anyhow, that's how that should have been glued up. What's not in this particular piece of text is the fact that the bamboo should be, or the belly or facing piece of bamboo should not be oriented the same as the first 3, but in fact turned over such that the nodes would then be facing the string. That is made clear in a different portion of text right here. John Lee says that the belly bamboo lamination was applied with the backside out towards the bowstring. Not doing so creates string follow. You've got to support the belly side to hold against the bow taking set, etc. And then it goes on to glass construction. So that's like the only blurb about how to face the bamboo on that belly lam. And from there it just talks about doing fiberglass. So there's that. And then lastly, something that I wanted to point out is how to construct these things, because it's not complicated, but I can guarantee you it is not simple. Here we go. You can do all your work from a big benchtop sander, including the tapering, which is what I did ultimately. For all the interior convex laminations, roll the back of the bamboo over a sander and then concave using the end of the benchtop sander. And for the interior laminations, you can use 36-inch sections and hand fit, so like butting them together like this, but I just did mine in full-length sections. And running this bamboo over the curvature of the belt sander, much easier said than done. And getting a good taper also much easier said than done. And while I was able to get a functional bow out of it all, that was a little bit of a challenge to do it that way. To do it again, I'd probably just do it the same way, because I'm not sure I know of a better way without having to create the sanding wheels to make it a little easier. And the sanding wheel I created really just is not that great. But just wanted to clear up why I chose to apply my belly lambs the way I did. right? So it made the process a little more complicated the way I did it. Gluing both the riser and the belly lambs on at the same time ended up with a very stout stave, very stout bow, and spent a lot of time trying to tiller it. You know, just some learnings going forward from there. But otherwise, everything turned out really, really well on this bow. I'm gonna go out and put her on the tillering tree to get all of the final specs here. She has been shot in quite a bit. It's all finished up now and looking good. So this has been a heck of a learning experience for me. I love building with bamboo. If you guys have followed the channel in any way, shape, or form, then you know my advocacy for pre-tillering all of your parts. And this was quite the exercise in pre-tillering. You know, I mean, it came out okay in the end, and that's basically because of my experience with the materials and making bows, that I got at least close enough, right? At least close enough. Had I followed the production process properly, did the 3 laminations, tillered them, put in my riser, tiller the whole bow before I put on the facing, I think it would have been an easier tillering process than it was in the end. So there you go. Just to clear up a couple things about how I made this particular bow versus how Howard actually did his bows. I just want to put in one more plug for this book and really thank John Lee and Mark Bellitz for having published it. Great information, a wealth of insight into Howard Hill's thought processes, building processes, all of those things, why he did things the way he did, and just how masterful a bowyer he was in his day. And guys, here's the finished bow. And yes, I am very pleased with the way it turned out, despite some of the potholes that I stepped in while putting it together. But she finished out 55 at 28, so great hunting weight bow, and just draws very smoothly for the weight. Yeah, I'm very happy with this bow. Guys, thank you for joining me this week as we went through the final touches on here, and next week we'll get started with our next project. I'll see you then.